From homeless to millionaire, how a black man inspired Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They say the streets don't forget. For Ethan, they almost swallowed him whole once. But today, he walks through the city like a shadow of power. Cold, sharp, untouchable. A millionaire with steel in his eyes, he's built walls thicker than the skyscrapers around him. No smiles, no breaks, just business. Yet, there's a story nobody knows. A strange twist that even the brightest lights in the business world couldn't predict. How did a simple black man, once frozen by the icy grip of homelessness, end up inspiring the likes of Elon Musk and Donald Trump? Crazy, right? People whisper in the alleys and behind boardroom doors. They say Ethan's rise wasn't just luck, it was a storm of secrets, chances most won't dare take. There's the tale of a dusty bench where he carved out his dreams, a lost childhood friend whose name haunted him on sleepless nights, and a leap of faith that shattered everything safe and sound in his steel heart. Tonight, as the city buzzes and the cold wind bites, Ethan strolls through the streets like a ghost. The clatter of boots on cracked pavement, the distant sirens piercing through concrete canyons, it's all just noise to him. That is, until she appears, out of nowhere. Lucy. Her knees hit the ground, her arms fling wide, and she crashes into Ethan like a lightning bolt. Her breath ragged, her eyes wild and searching. "Danny?" she gasps, clinging tight. Ethan freezes, confusion sharp and sudden. The woman's black skin gleams in the dim streetlight, her hair messy like tangled stories. To her, he's not a stranger, but a lost brother, a ghost from a past neither wanted to forget. The world around them blurs, sharp whispers rise from passers-by, some shocked, some disgusted. "Who's that woman?" a man mutters nearby. "She's homeless. What's he doing with her?" a woman sneers. Ethan's chest tightens, heart thrumming loud, as if it wants to break free. His cold mask cracks in a way it never did before. His hands tremble as he holds Lucy, feeling the fragile warmth she offers. This moment, so raw, so sharp, pulled from the abyss of his past. Lucy's voice breaks the silence, soft but fierce. "You don't remember? After all these years." The truth hangs heavy and thick, like the fog rolling off the river nearby. And just like that, their lives flicker back to a tangled past. One filled with pain, lost promises, and secrets that could unravel everything Ethan built. But danger waits around the corner. A ruthless businessman, a shadow threatening to snap this fragile bond into pieces. Power, greed, dark motives that claw at freedom and crush hope beneath glossy suits and cold money. Ethan feels it. A storm rising fast, not just for his fortune or name, but for Lucy, for what she hides, for what their past means. In this city split by money and misery, can a hardened man protect someone like her? Or will the fragile lines between friend and foe, love and betrayal, blur forever? And the real question, the one choking his throat, who is Lucy, really? And why does her story cut so close to his own? Something's coming. Something bigger than either can fight alone. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Ethan stood frozen, Lucy's words hanging heavy in the air. You don't remember? The question rattled inside him like thunder in a storm. He wanted to scream. He wanted to run. But instead, he locked eyes with her, searching for answers. Her gaze held a mix of desperation and recognition, cutting through the frigid night like a blade. Around them, the world blurred, the city's chaos fading into the background. That moment felt like a universe contained within a heartbeat, filled with so many questions that it threatened to drown him. Who was she really? Why did Danny echo like a ghost in his memory? Just then, the distant blare of sirens turned into a rapid pulse, drawing closer, faster. Ethan's heartbeat quickened, every instinct screaming that danger was lurking. It was then that a black SUV screeched to a halt nearby, the engine rumbling like a beast awakening. The doors swung open violently. A man stepped out, sharp suit, sharp jaw, eyes dark as midnight. Ethan felt an icy chill creep up his spine. This was no ordinary businessman. It was Jared, a name whispered in the darkest alleys. Ruthless, power-hungry, the shadow that threatened to consume everything Ethan built. "Ethan!" Jared bellowed, voice echoing like a gunshot. The crowd stepped back, shock and curiosity weaving through the onlookers as tension thickened the air. Ethan instinctively moved to shield Lucy. "What do you want?" he asked, the words heavier than lead. "Just catching up with an old friend," Jared sneered, eyeing Lucy with a twisted smile. "Seems like you've been playing house with the wrong people, haven't you?" Ethan felt the hand of panic grip him, but the tightness in his chest morphed into resolve. Stay away from her. In that moment, Jared flicked his gaze towards Lucy, a cold glimmer of amusement dancing in his eyes. "You really don't know, do you?" Something snapped inside Ethan. Who was this man? What did he know? "Know what?" Ethan growled, stepping closer, fists clenching. "The woman you're clinging to, she's not just a memory. She's the reason you're standing here today," Jared taunted. "Bet you didn't know that, did you?" The crowd shifted, whispers cascading like a rolling wave, eyes darting between the three of them. Shock danced through the air, prickling at Ethan's skin. "Stay back!" he shouted, voice cracking, half a plea, half a warning. But Jared didn't flinch. "She's got a secret, Ethan. And if you think you're going to rise above the past, think again. She can destroy you. She can take you back to the streets, to the darkness, to Danny." Ethan's world tilted. Panic surged, knocking him off balance. Shadows of the past loomed larger, shadows he thought he'd escaped. What did that even mean? Who was Danny? Terror clawed up his throat as he realized Lucy wasn't just a ghost from the past. She was a weight, a dark echo of something he never understood. Lucy's eyes widened, confusion morphing into fear. "Ethan!" she gasped, a plea. He held on to her tighter, heart racing. And just like that, everything changed. Secrets spilled from lips like poison, drowning their bond in uncertainty. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. They needed each other. But what if their past was a bomb waiting to explode? If he didn't understand her truth, how could he protect her? As the weight of that thought crashed over him, the cold night air felt even colder, and the stakes surged to an unforgiving height. Behind them, the vehicle's engine thrummed ominously, and Ethan knew something darker was coming. Would he stand with Lucy, or be dragged back to the shadows, consumed by his own past? Ethan stood frozen, Lucy's face a mirror of his buried past, each second stretching like pulled taffy. The world around them blurred. Rumors hushed, whispers faded. Only the thundering beat of his heart roared in his ears. "Lucy, I thought you were gone," he stammered, memories darting like shadows in the corners of his mind. The weight of years pressed on his chest, heavy and overwhelming. How? Before he could fully process the moment, shimmering lights flooded the street. A flash pierced the night. An ambulance racing by, sirens slicing through the stillness. He turned instinctively. A war. But it wasn't just the ambulance. There was tension creeping behind them, echoing with a different kind of urgency. A man pushed through the crowd, tall and menacing, eyes dark like a coiled serpent. His name was Max, and Ethan knew him well. A ruthless businessman who thrived on blood and betrayal. A former partner turned enemy who played the dirty game with cold calculation. "What's going on here?" Max sneered, his voice sharp, slicing through the moment. People in the crowd hushed, eyes flickering with concern and judgment. "Lucy, you need to go," Ethan murmured, fear creeping in. But Lucy wouldn't let him go. She squeezed tighter, her voice trembling. "Danny, I can't leave." "Lucy!" Ethan's voice rose higher, panic tightening his throat. "You don't understand." Max's eyes narrowed, and he stepped closer, the stench of his ambition radiating off him. "Funny seeing you here, Ethan. Couldn't resist a little trip down memory lane?" Ethan's fists clenched. He wouldn't let this man ruin their moment. But then, Lucy's grip slackened, and she turned to face Max, her expression shifting, anger sparking in her eyes like a dying ember igniting anew. "Stay away from him," she shouted, the sharpness in her voice echoing down the empty street. Max laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "Oh, is that fear in your voice? You're still the same scared girl I remember." For a fleeting second, Ethan caught a flicker of something in Lucy's gaze. Was it fear or strength? Before he could decipher it, Lucy reached into the tattered pocket of her worn jacket and pulled out a small, glimmering object. "A key," she declared, her voice steady, commanding. "To a past you thought was buried, Max." And in that moment, the world twisted on its axis. The crowd gasped. The air thickened with disbelief. "What do you mean?" Ethan's confusion painted across his face like a storm cloud. Lucy took a shaky breath, her resolve trembling but fierce. "You and I, we were part of something bigger, something you never knew about. And it's time you learned the truth." Just then, a painted van swerved around the corner, its tires screaming. It screeched to a halt, side door flinging open. Figures jumped out, silhouetted against the flickering streetlights. Faces hidden under hoods. "Get down!" shouted one, motioning towards Ethan and Lucy. Instinctively, Ethan's body reacted before his mind could register fear. He pulled Lucy close, shielding her as chaos erupted. The street turned cold, like the shadow of the secret just revealed. Max's eyes flared with anger, a claw unleashed. "You think you can hide from me?" He spat, fury morphing into something darker. Ethan felt his heart pound against the weight of the truth like a drum. In the midst of danger, he faced a choice. Would he embrace what Lucy offered? Or would he retreat into the familiar shadows of his old life? With the van's doors swinging wide, confusion mingled with terror. Who were these people? What did they want? The sight of Lucy's determined face sparked a new resolve in him. But the true question brewed beneath everything. What was the nature of her past? And suddenly, nothing felt safe. Something was coming, and the storm was only beginning. Ethan stood there, the weight of Lucy's words crashing over him like a wave. Just moments ago, they had shared a spark of recognition, but now it felt like the earth beneath them was crumbling. He clutched her tighter, and her heartbeat pulsed against his arm. The sudden arrival of the van, the figures lurking in the shadows, it all threatened to pull him back into the darkness he had fought so hard to leave behind. "Stay away!" Ethan said again, his voice rising above the gasps of the crowd. But this time, it wasn't just a warning, it was a plea. As he focused on Lucy, those figures by the van moved closer, their faces shrouded, intentions obscured. The air thickened, a charged silence hanging between them, broken only by the echoes of hurried footsteps. It was as if time slowed, each moment stretching into infinity. Then, out of nowhere, a loud bang shattered the tension. The van door slammed shut, the sound like a gunshot. Ethan flinched, instinctively turning toward the noise, and in that split second, the world tilted. "Lucy!" a voice called out from the shadows. Ethan's heart dropped. It was a voice he thought he'd never hear again. A fading whisper from another lifetime. The figure stepped into the light, and Ethan's breath caught in his throat. "Danny!" The name slipped from Lucy's lips, a soft gasp that hung between them like a confession. Ethan spun back to her, confusion flooding through him like ice water. "What do you mean, Danny? Who is he?" Max smirked, reveling in the chaos unfolding before him. "You didn't think she was just a bittersweet memory, did you? You've been chasing an illusion, Ethan." The crowd was a collection of startled faces, glancing between them, disbelief written all over their features. "He's your brother, Ethan," Lucy said, her voice trembling. "They said you died, but you didn't." "You survived." Ethan's world crumbled as the truth exploded in his mind. He blinked hard, reeling, heart pounding. Danny was more than a name. He was a ghost of a past that shouldn't exist. A brother lost to the shadows of homelessness, swept away while Ethan fought to rise above. "No," Ethan whispered, shaking his head slowly. "That's not possible. I remember." Memories swirled. A childhood stripped of comfort. Nights spent dreaming of escape. In the back of his mind, Danny was always there, an echo dulled by time. But to hear that name now, to understand it was her reality too, it felt like a dagger to his heart. Lucy, please, explain. And then chaos erupted. A figure dashed from the van, quick, agile, a blur of motion. Before anyone could react, the figure lunged straight at Ethan, a knife glinting dangerously in the streetlight. He barely had a moment to react. "Get down!" Lucy shouted. Ethan ducked instinctively. The blade missed him but caught Lucy, her scream slicing the night. She stumbled back, falling to the ground, clutching her side as shock painted her face. "No!" he roared, lunging to her aid. But in that terrifying instant, all the pieces shifted again. The crowd erupted into chaos, gasps and shouts filling the air. Max's laughter rang cold as he backed away, arms crossed, watching it unfold with cruel amusement. "See how quickly the darkness swallows? Surprised you're still in the light," he taunted. Ethan's world narrowed down to Lucy, sinking to the pavement, the blood blooming like a dark flower against her shirt. Panic seized him, a vice grip on his chest. "Lucy!" He rushed to her side, heart hammering, mind racing as he struggled to comprehend what was happening. "Why?" he croaked, the question spilling out into the void of frantic chaos around them. But just as realization dawned, a cold hand grazed his shoulder. Jared stepping forward, eyes glinting with a mix of malice and triumph. "Didn't you know?" he said darkly. "The past always comes back. And sometimes it bites." Ethan's breath stuttered as he lifted his head, the world fracturing around him. The truth was shifting, blurring lines he thought he understood. The familiar pain of betrayal gnawed at his insides. As Lucy lay there, darkness creeping in, Ethan's mind raced. Who was really his enemy? What had Lucy kept hidden? And why did the truth feel lethal, poised to strike when he least expected it? The air crackled with anticipation, and he knew nothing would ever be the same. In this moment, he thought, everything hangs by a thread. Ethan stood at the crossroads of his past and future, staring into Lucy's eyes. Time twisted. He could feel the world pulsing around him, but all he registered was her breath and the warmth of her grip. "Lucy, he started, but the words felt too heavy, too loaded with everything he didn't understand. She searched his face, her expression shifting like shadows, cracking open the wall he built around his heart. "You don't believe me," she whispered. "But I've been waiting, Danny. I've always been waiting." A chill ran down his spine. The name she called him sliced through layers of triumph and pride that he'd wrapped around himself. This wasn't just a reunion. This was a reckoning. He felt the eyes of the city upon them, a sharp scrutiny that threatened to poison this fragile moment. Then, like thunder in a clear sky, a scream erupted from the crowd. Ethan turned, adrenaline spiking, drawing him away from Lucy's gaze. A woman was collapsing on the sidewalk, hands clawing at the air, convulsing. Her face was twisted in agony. "Oh my God!" someone gasped. He could hear their anxious whispers mixed with urgent footsteps. Ethan's instincts kicked in. He squeezed Lucy's hand, the instinct to protect flaring within him. "Stay here," he ordered, but his voice trembled. He knew Lucy wouldn't just listen. She squeezed back, eyes wide. "What's happening?" Before he could answer, a glint of something cold caught his eye. A man at the back of the crowd, tall, sharp-dressed, with an unsettling grin. Ethan felt his stomach knot. It was Marcus, the businessman whose shadow loomed over their lives. The man had a way of showing up when trouble brewed. Ethan took a step toward the chaos, heart pounding, but felt Lucy's grip hold him firm. "Don't," she said, her voice steady despite the storm. "Just wait, Lucy." In a flash, the woman's body went rigid. A figure rushed in, crouching beside her. It was a paramedic, but Ethan could tell this wasn't just a medical emergency. The crowd surged, pushing him closer, and that unsettling grin from Marcus was brighter than ever. Like a neon warning sign, Lucy's breath hitched beside him suddenly. "Danny, look!" She pointed, and it made his heart race. The paramedic was checking the woman's pulse, then flipping her over. "Something's wrong. This isn't how it's supposed to go," Lucy shouted, panic lacing her words. As the woman's face turned, Ethan gasped. It was someone he recognized, someone from his past, a ghost he thought long buried beneath his ambitions. But then came a sound, a crack like glass shattering. It echoed, sharp and penetrating. Silence instantly wrapped around them. All eyes moved toward where the sound came from. A small radio the paramedics had dropped lay on the ground, laying distorted voices, urgent, frantic, and one unmistakable name that sent a chill straight to Ethan's core. "Don't let her get away!" Ethan's blood ran cold. "Danny, we need to go! Now!" Lucy was pulling him away, but the weight of that name pressed down on him, heavier than all his past mistakes. Who was this woman? Why was the storm brewing inside him? He looked back at Lucy. Her eyes spoke of fear, of knowledge he didn't have. "What do you know?" he demanded, trying to wrap his mind around everything, around her, around his past. But it was too late. A blinding light pierced their alleyway. Two black SUVs screeched to a halt, doors flinging open. Figures poured out, men in suits, eyes wild, expressions fierce. "Get the girl!" one yelled. Ethan felt the ground shift beneath him, disorienting as the pieces of his life began tumbling into disarray. Who was Lucy, and what secret was she carrying, tied to the woman on the ground? The storm was here, darker and more relentless than he'd ever imagined. And now he was part of it. Ethan's mind raced as Lucy clung to him, her breath coming in quick bursts. Danny? She had called him, tugging at a thread he thought long severed. The weight of her recognition pressed hard against his chest, squeezing memories he didn't want to revisit. "Lucy, he started, but words lodged in his throat. The crowd swirled around them, whispers like nasty little cuts on his skin. He felt their eyes, burning with judgment and scorn, but the world faded away, except for Lucy. "What are you doing here?" he managed to ask, desperate to pull his mind back from the jagged edge of nostalgia. "You don't remember?" Her voice cracked, like ice underfoot. Before he could answer, a shadow moved just beyond their little bubble of memory. A man in a dark suit, lurking like a predator in an alley. Ethan's heart raced as he recognized him. Derek, his old employer, a ruthless businessman known for selling dreams and destroying lives. Ethan's body stiffened. This couldn't be good. Derek and Lucy? The very thought made his skin itch. Derek approached, smooth as silk. "Danny, it's been a while." His smile was nothing but venom. "And you found a companion?" Ethan's protective instincts kicked in, simmering beneath the cold facade he wore like armor. Stay away from her, he said, a growl escaping his lips. Oh, come now, Derek said, leaning in too close, his cologne clawing at Ethan's senses. I'm just here to offer an opportunity. He gestured to Lucy, who stood trembling beside Ethan. What's your name, sweetheart? Back off, Ethan snapped, pushing Derek away with a force that surprised even him. The intense exchange caught the attention of a few bystanders. Their murmurs rippled through the gathering. Ha 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 ha! Who do you think he is? Someone asked. Look at that girl. Poor thing. Another chimed in, eyes wide with curiosity and pity. But the attention faded quickly as Derek laughed. A cold, heartless sound. You really think you can protect her? You're just one bad decision away from losing everything, aren't you? The words cut deep, and the air grew thick with tension. Suddenly, a scream pierced the night. Help! Help! The crowd jerked, pointing in wild panic. A figure stumbled out from behind the shadows, blood-drenched and panicked. It took seconds for Ethan to connect the dots. Donnie! It was him! Lucy's voice sliced through the chaos. That man! He was there when everything... But Ethan didn't need her to finish. Lucy was tied to this horror, a thread now unraveling in ways he couldn't understand. Stay here, he told Lucy, but she shook her head fiercely. No, I can't leave! The back of Ethan's neck prickled. Was she mixed up with Derek? Would the shadows of their past pull them both under? His heart twisted painfully as the reality crashed upon him. A past he thought he had escaped was clawing back, ready to consume them both. Derek's eyes narrowed, his smile fading. There, you think this is a game? In that moment, someone rushed at Derek, hands raised. Get away from her! And then everything erupted into chaos. Shouts, sirens, a body hitting the ground, and the world smearing into a blur of desperation. Ethan's instincts kicked in, but nothing felt certain anymore. Suddenly, he turned to Lucy, panic swelling in his gut. She locked eyes with him, filled with something dark, something he couldn't place. Ethan, there's more about us. You need to understand. And just like that, before she could say more, the darkness rushed in, shattering all hope, demanding answers none were ready to give. The night swallowed them whole. Ethan's heart raced, confusion tightening around him like a vice. Danny? He echoed, unsure why it felt like a punch in the gut. The name, old like dirt and painful like scars, hung heavy between them. Ooh, who are you? But Lucy simply shook her head. You don't remember? After everything we've been through? Her voice trembled, fragile under the weight of their shared history. Suddenly, Ethan's phone buzzed violently in his pocket, the sound slicing through the air. He fished it out, glancing at the screen. A number he didn't recognize. The pounding of his heart drowned out the murmurs around him. He swiped to answer it. Hello? A voice, smooth but laced with malice, greeted him. Ah, Ethan, good to see you're still alive. Ethan's blood ran cold. Who the hell is this? The voice chuckled, dark and full of contempt. You've forgotten your roots, my friend. You were meant to become something extraordinary. But you've lost your way, haven't you? His grip on the phone tightened, knuckles white. As Lucy stared at him, panic creeping across her face, gasps filled the air. People around them sensed the shift, eyes widening, whispers like wind rushing through the crowd. Is this a joke? Ethan's voice sounded hollow, frantic. Oh, it's no joke, just a heads up. Your past is creeping back, and it wants you. Lucy knows something. Something that connects you to what you fear most. Ethan's world tilted, spinning around him. He looked at Lucy, whose expression morphed from recognition to dread. What do you know? He demanded, voice sharp as glass. She stepped back, the light catching the sheen of betrayal in her eyes. I thought you'd never return. What the hell does that mean? Ethan's chest tightened. Panic clawed at him like an animal caught in a trap. Suddenly, a rumble echoed from down the street. A luxury SUV roared into view, tires screeching against asphalt. The engine growled, deadly and demanding, stopping just in front of them. The driver's door swung open, and from it stepped a tall figure clothed in sharp black, his aura suffocating, magnetic. The crowd recoiled, their murmurs rising. Ethan, the newcomer said, voice dripping with poison, you've made quite a name for yourself, haven't you? The air froze. This was no ordinary threat. This was the storm Ethan felt brewing. Lucy's expression shifted. She blanched, eyes filling with unshed tears. Who are you? Ethan stepped closer, muscles coiled tight. I'm the reason you walked away from everything you once promised to be. The past you ran from is here to greet you, and it has no mercy. With that, a blinding flash of light erupted from the SUV's trunk. A camera? A flare? The crowd gasped, eyes darting in panic. Get back! Ethan shouted, shoving Lucy behind him. But it was too late. The flash lit up the night sky, and in that moment, the ground beneath them trembled. The scream of tires echoed. A blast of sound erupted, and everything exploded around them. Confusion, chaos, then darkness. As consciousness slipped from him, a single thought crackled in Ethan's mind. What had he lost? And what had Lucy really hidden? As shadows devoured the light, nothing felt safe anymore. The pieces of his life shattered, and with them, the very truth of who he was. Ethan's consciousness hung in a fragile state, swirling in darkness. Fear crawled over him, tightening its grip, a suffocating blanket. He blinked hard, trying to shake off the haze, but the chaos around him pulsed like a heartbeat. "Lucy!" he shouted, but his voice was swallowed by the chaos. Lost in the echo of the blast, he forced himself to focus, eyes darting through the flickering lights. Fragments of the scene flashed before him. People were moving, panicking, faces twisted in shock. The bright glare of the SUV illuminated fear, and his heart raced with desperation. "Get up," he urged himself, pushing against the pavement. But then he stopped cold. He turned slow, brows furrowing. He could hear her, a voice cutting through the confusion, soft yet urgent. "Danny!" "Lucy." He stumbled toward the sound, weaving through bodies, the air thick with terror. Suddenly, he felt a hand on his arm. It was Derek, eyes glinting with twisted amusement as chaos erupted around them. "You really don't get it, do you?" he sneered. "You're too late!" Heart-pounding, Ethan shook him off like a fly. His gaze was locked on Lucy, lying there, fear etched across her face amid the pulsing glow of the streetlights. "Lucy!" he shouted again, feeling the tremor in his voice. And then it happened. A figure emerged from the SUV, stepping into the light. A woman carrying an aura of dark authority. Her hair, sleek and slick against her head, her eyes searching and icy. She approached Lucy with a predatory grace, a smirk curling on her lips. "Get away from her!" Ethan screamed, feeling rage boil in his veins. "Relax, Ethan," she said, her voice smooth, almost soothing. "I'm not here to hurt her." Not yet. Ethan's heart raced. "Who are you?" "Your worst nightmare," she quipped, golden eyes fixating on Lucy. "Or maybe your salvation. Depends on which way you want to go." Lucy flinched, trembling on the ground. "No, not you!" she gasped, eyes wide with recognition. Ethan knew he had to get to her, shield her from this woman. But as he stepped forward, Lucy's hand shot out, stopping him cold. "No, Danny, don't!" she cried. "Please listen." "Listen?" The woman chuckled, and the sound sent chills down Ethan's spine. "She's a liability, Ethan. You're in too deep." Panic threaded through Ethan. He couldn't lose Lucy. Not after everything. "What did you do to her?" "Nothing yet," the woman replied, her gaze steely and unyielding. "But you're about to find out." "Ha ha ha ha!" With a sudden, shocking motion, she drew something from her pocket, a small, deadly-looking device. It glinted ominously, and in an instant, Ethan's stomach dropped. "No!" he shouted, but before he could react, she pressed a button, and a wave of red light exploded from the device, sweeping over the crowd like a predator looking to mark its territory. Ethan felt the sensation wash over him, washing away his grit in an instant. He watched, horror-stricken, as faces shifted around him. "Ethan!" Lucy's voice cracked with fear. "What's happening?" He blinked, trying to focus, but the scene in front of him transformed. The people around him contorted, their identities slipping away into a blur, merging into a single pulsating mass of fear and confusion. And then it hit him hard. The realization crashed like a wave, flooding his veins with ice. Among the faces swirling in the crowd, he saw it. Saw her. The woman standing beside him was not a stranger, but a reflection of someone he once knew too well. "Danny?" The voices whispered around him, murmurs of disbelief wrapping around his mind like a noose. "Is that really you?" His heart stopped. The truth surged through him, a brutal awakening. "No, that can't be." But deep down he felt it. The memories, the echoes of laughter, the bond that had been severed but never fully lost. A twist, a revelation so profound it knocked the breath from his lungs. "Lucy, he began, stunned as everything began to unravel. In that moment, understanding cracked the air like thunder. Everything shifted. This woman was not an enemy. She was family. And the implications hit him harder than any explosion ever could. "Lucy, what have you been hiding?" He could see it in her eyes. The weight of secrets that had never been shared, the burden of truth that had been locked away. Questions clashed in his mind, conflicting truths battling for supremacy. The chaos didn't stop. It plunged into darkness, but within that shadow, clarity shone, a tangled web of past and present unspooled before him, laying bare the connections he never saw coming. Now all he could do was stare into the abyss, waiting for answers. How could he make sense of this? Who are we really? Altair, uncertainty flooding the air as he faced the storm gathering on the horizon. Ethan's heart thudded in his chest like a drum, the weight of Lucy's truth crashing against him. "What are we really?" he whispered, desperation spilling into the air. But before Lucy could respond, the world shifted again, and a violent crack echoed through the night. The device in the woman's hand sparked like a firecracker, a blinding flash erupting in the thrumming darkness. Ethan instinctively shielded Lucy, his body bending protectively over hers. And then it happened. A shockwave surged through the crowd, sending people scrambling like leaves in a storm. "Get down!" someone shouted frantically. Bodies collided, a wave of confusion crashing over them. Ethan fought to keep his balance, eyes scanning for her amidst the chaos. But Lucy remained frozen, shock rendering her immobile. The woman's laughter sliced through the confusion, a cruel sound that lingered like smoke. "You really thought you could escape the past? It's coming back at you, like a boomerang." "Shut up!" Ethan roared, anger flaring. He turned back to Lucy, but the words jumped into his throat. She was staring, eyes wide, but not at him. They were fixed behind him, filled with dread. "Lucy, what's wrong?" Before she could answer, a scream pierced the air, raw and haunting. The crowd shifted again, some fleeing, while others looked on in horror. Ethan spun around, dread swelling in his chest, and that's when he saw her, an older woman slumped against the wall, blood seeping from her mouth, a dark stain spreading across her shirt. It felt like time had stopped. "Someone call for help!" A voice rang out, though Ethan barely heard. The chaotic atmosphere blurred into silence, leaving only the raspy breaths of the dying woman and Lucy's horrified gasp. "Mom!" Lucy screamed, the word like glass shattering under pressure. The world tilted, gravity twisting around Ethan. The woman looked up, eyes filled with pain, recognition blooming on her face, slipping into something more chilling. "Lucy, I found you." Ethan felt the ground drop beneath him as Lucy's world unraveled. "What are you doing here? I thought you were gone," she stammered, rushing to her mother's side, cradling the woman's head in her lap. "Thought I could fix it. Thought I could save you." The woman's voice was barely a whisper, each word soaked in regret. Ethan stumbled back, confusion flooding his mind. "You're her mother? How is this?" But Lucy's mother turned her gaze on him. "You have no idea what's coming, do you?" Her voice was shaky, but filled with desperation. "It's all tied together. The police?" she gasped, but the breath hitched in her throat. "No! Stay with us!" Lucy pleaded, tears pooling in her eyes. With a sudden clench of her hand, the woman's body stilled, and Ethan felt icy fingers wrap around his heart. "No!" he breathed, the world bending painfully at the edges. "Mom! No! Please!" Lucy's cries pierced through him, whipping the air into a frenzy. Ethan felt like he was losing his footing, his world tipping dangerously into chaos. Everything he thought he understood shattered in that moment. Secrets swirled like smoke, rising from the wreckage of shattered lives. "What is this?" he gasped. A storm of questions needing answers. A sudden explosion echoed down the street. A car ignited into a blazing fireball. Shards of glass erupted, raining down like a storm. "What is happening?" Ethan shouted, lost in the darkness, everything folding around him. "Dunny, You have to run! Lucy screamed, pulling her mother close, tears streaming down her cheeks. Ethan's heart raced, not knowing what path to take. Lucy's word rang in his mind, a warning laced with fear, and in that moment, he realized. They were not just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for the truth, buried deep beneath layers of pain and betrayal. As the sirens wailed closer, the crowd surged and a chill swept through him. The fragile web of their lives was unraveling, and he could sense it, the darkness creeping nearer, swallowing them whole. Time stood still as Ethan faced the truth. Everything was about to change. A new storm was brewing, larger than any he had known, and they had just stepped into its eye. "Lucy, what do we do?" he asked, heart pounding with uncertainty. But as the flames rose behind them, casting flickering shadows, all they could do was prepare for the tempest ahead. Knowing the worst was yet to come, Ethan's world spun wildly. The scene before him a chaotic blur of red and blue lights and fearful cries. Lucy knelt beside her mother, tears streaming down her cheeks. He could feel their pain tightening around him like a vice. The darkness that had chased him now loomed larger than ever, swallowing their hopes and dreams. "Stay with me, Mom," Lucy pleaded, her voice shaking, desperation spilling from her. The woman flickered like a candle on the verge of extinguishing. Ethan's heart raced, every beat echoing the urgency in the air. He approached cautiously, kneeling beside her. "Don't leave us! We'll figure this out together!" he urged, but the words felt hollow. The woman's eyes fluttered, searching for something in Lucy's gaze. "You have to learn the truth about everything," she murmured, fading like the last light of twilight. Ethan felt the heaviness, the weight of family secrets crashing down. He grasped Lucy's hand, their fingers intertwining, a lifeline amid the chaos. "Lucy, I promise, we'll find a way." But just then, the SUV's engine roared back to life, and a group of figures surged from the shadows. Ethan's eyes darted to the lead man, that same chilling smile. "Derek, you thought it was over?" he taunted, stepping forward with menace simmering in his gaze. "This is just the beginning. Get away from us!" Ethan shouted, pulling Lucy closer. The crowd around them shifted, panic spreading like wildfire. Shouts erupted, and Ethan felt the ground beneath them tremble, the air thick with unspeakable dread. "Too late!" Derek's voice rang out, cruel and steady. "The past is here for you, Ethan, and it won't let you go." Then, in a terrible instant, chaos erupted. Lucy's mother gasped, her body going still. The light drained from her eyes, and Ethan felt a piece of him shatter. "No, not like this!" he cried out, the sound reverberating against the backdrop of chaos. The crowd surged again, some against Derek, some against the fear that gripped them all. Ethan could feel his heart racing, caught in a storm he could barely comprehend. Through it all, Lucy struggled, her tears mixing with the shock on her face. "Danny, please!" she cried. That name echoed, a hollow reminder of everything he had run from. "Lucy, what do we do?" he gasped, agony creeping into his voice. "Run! Get out of here!" she shouted. But that didn't sit well in his chest. He couldn't leave her behind! He couldn't abandon her. In that moment, he knew what he had to do. Hold on to me, he said, gripping her tightly, feeling the warmth of her resolve. Together, they surged forward through the chaos, pushing through the throng. The flames flickered brightly behind them, illuminating the darkness they were desperately escaping. "Danny, don't look back," Lucy urged, pulling him along, determination shining in her eyes despite the tears. Ethan's thoughts raced. They had to unravel this, together. The truth of their past, the shadows of betrayal. They'd survive this. They had to. As they broke through the crowd, stumbling into the street, sirens blaring in the distance, Ethan felt a flicker of hope amid the overwhelming despair. Their lives were tangled, rooted in pain. But there was power in choosing to face it. "We can't stop now," Ethan breathed, adrenaline fueling him. "We'll find the answers." He turned back, heart pounding, knowing the danger was still near. But for the first time, he felt less like a shadow of his former self, and more like a man ready to reclaim his life. "Together?" he asked, locking eyes with Lucy, the storm around them raging but still somehow grounding. "Together," she affirmed, the weight of their shared past heavy, but less burdensome with hope. As they ran, the flames crackling behind them, and uncertainty ahead, Ethan knew this was just a chapter. The next part remained unwritten, and they were ready to face whatever came next. But as the vehicles continued to screech in the distance, as the shadows lurked just out of sea, what had they unleashed? And so, dear viewers, this is where we end for now. But the story doesn't stop here. You have to subscribe immediately to make sure you don't miss the upcoming exclusive stories. There are so many twists ahead. Smash the like button now to feed that algorithm. And I need you to flood the comments with your reactions and theories about the ending. You don't want to keep this to yourself, so share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even a second longer. Let's dive deeper into this journey together. Your engagement makes all the difference.